Good morning and welcome to PuckTime on WagerTalk TV. It is Thursday, January 16th, and I am Andrew. I've got Carmine and Bryan with me to break down three games, prop sides, totals, best bets, and all kinds of promos right here at WagerTalk.com. Carm, it was a really small day yesterday in the NHL, so as we've been doing lately, we remove those days from PuckTime, and we make sure we come back heavy with a really big card. So a lot of pressure on you with all these games to pick some good games for us to talk about. Which games did you decide on for us today?
Yeah, and I conferred with you on these ones, Andrew. I wanted to make sure that you liked today's card as well, too. So we are going to talk about Florida and Detroit. We got to talk about the Detroit Red Wings, of course. They're on a very good run. Washington and Ottawa. Ottawa back to being on a good run after getting back from the West Coast. 3 straight wins for them. You're going to do your prop playlist. We are going to finish it off with the Edmonton Oilers in Colorado. The Oilers 7-1 their last 8 games, playing some very good hockey and some very good defensive hockey, which we'll also discuss, and some best bets. And hopefully we get you guys out of here with some winners. And speaking of winners, we have Bryan Leonard here, man. Bryan, we were just talking about before the show and before we hop right into this first game with Florida. I said that the Sabres managed to do something in the third period yesterday in their upset win against Carolina that they haven't done. I haven't seen done. And then you reminded me that there was one. The Sabres scored a goal in the third period, but had 0 shots on goal. You never see that happen, but it's one of those ones where you score in your own net, and it goes back to the last guy who touched the puck. You were at a game with the Vegas Golden Knights where that happened.
I was, and you were the first person that I texted. I said, how the hell do you score a goal without a shot on goal? And now we see it again. Yeah, it's a strange sport. We've talked about in the past how lucky this sport is, and which makes underdogs something that I like to play. But yeah, you don't see it very often. In fact, talking about the Knights the other day, they played Nashville. They went 34 minutes, had 3 shots on goal. It's a strange time in the NHL when you're getting into the heat of the moment halfway through the season now. So you see teams taking days off. We just got to be able to take advantage of those.
And, Bryan, we don't have Vegas on today's card, but you did mention last week, and I think even the week before that to keep an eye on the Vegas Golden Knights and their upcoming schedule. Elaborate on that just a little bit before we hop into this Florida game.
Yeah, they had been playing very well, but they had played nobody. It was all easy schedule. The entire month of December was basically at home. And I said that they're an overrated team last week when I was on the show, and they go 1-3. I believe they were favored in every single game. And now, as Andrew pointed out before the show, they've got a lot of tough opponents coming up. So, yeah, don't get overly excited if you're a Vegas Golden Knights fan, we're about to lose first place to Edmonton, who's on a roll, and they're overall the better team. So it's been a good season so far, and I can't complain about my hometown team, but we got the next week or so. It's going to be some tough games on the schedule.
Yeah. Guys, it's Bryan Leonard. He's the Vegas guy. He's the one talking about the Vegas Golden Knights and not being as good as they've shown. So don't throw any heat mine and Andrew's way. Just throw it towards Bryan. But he's got his pulse on this team's finger. Speaking of pulse, Andrew, and I'm going to go to you first on this one. The Florida Panthers showed a little bit of pulse in their last game, getting a win. But my God, Detroit, they get their first loss in what seems like weeks for this team. They've been on a good run under their new coach. Ville Husso was in goal for that one, and he just couldn't stop anything. He couldn't have stopped a beach ball. But minus 250 here for Florida in this one. Right now it's trending because Alex Lyon looks like he's still dealing with an injury. Looks like it could be Cam Talbot. But my God, if it's Ville Husso in goal tonight, Detroit, even at plus 200, doesn't look attractive. Where are you going with this one?
You know, guys, it's funny because there was a point in time where I stopped caring as much about starting goaltenders and was more about the team. And I find this season in particular, it really is important going from one goaltender to the next. Look at a team like the Ottawa Senators. When Allmark went down, they looked pretty bad without him. And then now all of a sudden they have a goaltender that's really stepped up and he's playing well for them. And especially for these brink teams, like the fringe playoff teams, maybe Colorado was already a good team. Then they got a good goalie, and now they're a great, great team. But some of these fringe teams, you need a good, reliable goaltender. Detroit, I kind of worry about that with them. Busy schedule, guys. I hear for the Florida Panthers. We talk about them on Monday. They go ahead and play on Tuesday. Again, busy game for them, busy schedule. But 4-3 loss, and people like to look at fading teams second half of a back-to-back, but it's also one of those situations where, hey, if they lose the first game, maybe you want to look at them on that second half of back-to-back. They get it done in shootout fashion. So it's definitely been busy and kind of an exhausting run here. But look, I'm here to say that I really believe in the coach's bump mentality and the coach's bump aspect. There's no doubt about it. But I try and remind people this all the time. Look at St. Louis. They're probably one of the teams that actually had to play the toughest teams after their coach got fired. There were still some decent teams mixed in there. I remember when Boston fired Montgomery, their first win and first game after that was a 5% play for me on the Bruins against Utah. I mean, you look at this Detroit team, they lose to the Maple Leafs their first game after firing their coach. Then they go ahead and beat the Penguins. They beat the Blue Jackets. They beat the Hawks. They're playing against teams like the Kraken. Yeah, sure, they just lost to the Sharks, but there's been some easier opponents, guys. I'm not saying everything has been a breeze for them, but we got to slow the roll here on the Red Wings, all right? They've had some good games against the Caps and some other talented teams, but we can't sit up here and say that they have been out here against the best of the best, the most elite competition. It's so nice how it works out for fans that when they fire their coach, they think this team has magically just has an all-star team. Well, they're playing better and they're playing more inspired. And I like Todd McClellan, but at the same time, I do think there's still issues with them defensively. Florida, sure, they might be a little bit gassed. It's a lot of games for them in a short period of time. But I missed on Monday when I gave out the play and it was plus 100. Now I got to lay minus 120, but I'm going to take this Florida team total over. I think this game overall could go full game over, but I will isolate the favorite, get that price down even more, and take the home team to get the job done over their team total. Brian, do you agree with me that although this Red Wings team is playing well, they've certainly taken advantage of some advantageous spots that they've been given?
Yeah, they definitely have. And despite the 7-1 run as of late, they still got a long way to go before they're respectable. If you take a look at their 5-on-5 expected goal share this season, they still sit at 46.15, which is fifth worst in the league. As comparison, you got a Florida team at 53.65. So you've got 7.5 point percentage difference in goal share for Florida playing at home against this Detroit team. The Panthers have a net goal advantage of 26 on the season between the two, and Detroit has still played 3 more home games than what Florida has played. So don't get overly excited about Detroit here. The Red Wings are about to start a real tough 4-game road trip. Tampa Bay, Dallas, and Philadelphia. And although Philadelphia is not winning, they are dominating goal share, and they're playing very well. They just can't get that victory out there. So they're still a team that you got to be really scared about. First meeting of the season between these two, and my only concern is Florida has dropped 6 out of the last 10. Defense has been solid, but they haven't been able to generate the offense like they did earlier in the season. Florida's clearly the better team, but it's hard to lay this type of number the way they're playing. I'm with you. I think Detroit's a little bit overrated, but we're catching a Florida team that maybe with all this extra time in hockey in the playoffs they played the last couple of years, you're going to find teams like that where they find a spot during the season where they just don't have it. And Florida has been that way as of late. Like I said, they've dropped 6 out of the last 10. Don't want to lay a $2 favorite here with Florida. But again, don't want any part of Detroit.
What about you, Carm?
Well, I don't blame you. I don't blame Brian at all. I'm never laying 250. I don't even think I want to play the puck line on this one. Detroit actually has a very good number or they've been profitable to put it to the puck line. This is one of my 20 minutes and out kind of games. I'm going to take the first period over in this one because I agree. I think we're going to see some goals in this one. Detroit 7-3 their last 10 to the first period over, 7-3 on the road as well too to the first period over. And you have a Florida team off a win on the road, a hard fought win against the Devils, returning home. At some point, they're going to turn it on. Whether it's here or not remains to be seen. This is one of those ones where I think the VIG would increase on both the game total and the first period total if we somehow saw Ville Husso named to be in goal. It's showing Cam Talbot everywhere. And Brian mentioned that road trip, this road trip for Detroit. They have back-to-back games coming up against Tampa Bay and then Dallas. So unless Alex Line is healthy, that it's going to be Cam Talbot in one of those, Ville Husso in the other. So you're going to want to. This is one of those times where you're going to want to be looking at goalies because there are some goalie dependent plays. But I like the first period over in this one, Andrew, minus 120 on the 1.5. So that's where I'm going to go on this one. Watch opening 20 minutes and then switch because there's so many good games tonight that I really like that I can quickly turn this one off once they get the 2 goals and move on. But speaking of good games, Brian, Washington and Ottawa. Washington comes back from the West Coast. They proceed to lose to the Buffalo Sabres at home in their first game at home. But this team is put freeze on it. I always freeze on the first. That's why I'm bobbing back and forth. I always freeze the first 3 times I log in, and they say there's nothing wrong with this computer. Whatever. I have free replacement now. I'm just going to smash my screen and return it and say, yeah. Sorry, guys. I dropped my latte on the mixer board and completely blew up the system. We're going to continue on, and we're going to go to this Ottawa-Washington game. Ottawa minus 115, Washington minus 105. 5.5 is the total here. Andrew, this is one of the ones where when we talk about goalies, it's a goalie-dependent one for me. Obviously, Allmark is their number one guy, but he's injured. Of the two number 2 goalies, or number 2 and number 3, if you want to talk about it, I don't want any part of like Forsberg in goal. It just seems like anytime I'm on the Sens and Forsberg's in goal, it turns out badly for me. But this is a team that came from the West Coast, played a couple games back here against Detroit, and then home against the Sabres. They lose 4-0. They lose both those games, but they've turned it around, and they're playing extremely well. This is a team now that's won, 3 in a row, knocking off Pittsburgh, knocking off the Dallas Stars, which is a big one, and then shutting out the Islanders in New York, allowing 2 goals across 3 games, couple shutouts there as well, too. I want Ottawa here, minus 115. I get it. Washington's a good team, guys. No disrespect to them, but when you have a team like Ottawa that's been playing well defensively, they go through a bad spurt, but then get back to playing defense at home and playing extremely well right now. I'm going to jump on them to try and slow down this Washington team and cash at a very low buy low price of minus 115. What do you think, Andrew?
Yeah, I'm sharing a lot of the same thoughts as you, Carm. Merrilainen is confirmed for the Ottawa Senators. And as you mentioned, we've talked about it a couple different times now, how different this Senators team looked when Allmark went out of the picture. When he got injured, it really affected this team. It took him some time to get going. And once he got going, he was looking really good with this Senators team. But Merrilainen now, 1.99 goals against average, 9.25 save percentage. This team looks different when they have a confident goaltender behind them. It's almost like they feel more pressure when they realize, man, we're not going to win a game unless we score 4 or 5 goals. This Senators team is a completely different team when they can win games scoring a few goals and not 4 or 5. And as you guys know, there's certain teams on my list that are particular team total teams. And a couple of days ago, I did cash with the Sens team total, but they're kind of proving me now to be a team that I don't necessarily have to take the team total in order to feel comfortable with them and cashing tickets. And I'm very curious what Brian's thoughts are on this, because Brian looks at a lot of the numbers and he's made a lot of money with the Capitals this season. But, Brian, one thing I've noticed here is that although the Capitals have been up high as far as expected goals for throughout the season, whenever I check and plug in different dates on certain websites, whether it be the start of January, the start of December, the last 2 weeks, the last week and a half, whatever it might be, the Capitals seem to always be a bottom team as far as expected goals allowed. So I'll throw it to you with this, Brian. Has this Capitals team been relying on goaltending for far too long. I was actually doing a show the other day, and I was asked, which team out of these three teams relies the most on goaltending? The Capitals, the Kings, or the Wild? And I'm very curious your thoughts maybe on that, but as well as here, the expected goals against. They're giving up the third most expected goals in the month of January. That leads me to the Ottawa side, Brian, but what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I'm in agreement here. The break got my cat out of bed, but I have to apologize for that. But yeah, don't look now, but these Senators are on quite a roll. They've raised their expected goals 5-on-5 to 52.23 on the season, which is really right behind the Capitals at 52.38. And we've talked about the Washington Capitals all season long. So Ottawa's, they're playing much better ball right now. Washington does have a 42 net goal advantage on the season, but this Ottawa team is playing far better hockey than earlier in the campaign. And you mentioned the goalies. It makes a big difference when you can stop the goalies. You talked about Colorado in the past, and Colorado's a totally different team now that they've got a quality goalie in there. So if Ottawa can get this type of goaltending, this is a team that can make the playoffs. The Capitals have played 5 more home games than the Senators. In the last week, Washington has really stepped up its defense, allowing just 5 goals in 4 games. This is the first meeting of the season between these two, but Ottawa has been very streaky to start the new year in 2025. They lost 4 straight before winning 3 straight coming into this one, but they did permit just 2 total goals in those 3 games. So you got 2 teams playing very good defense right now. I like the Ottawa side, but I think the way I'm going to get there is, since I like the under a little bit and I like the Senators a little bit, I'm going to play the Washington team total under 2.5 in this one at plus money. They have not been scoring a lot of goals lately. I like the way Ottawa's playing defense. And, we get a nice payback here. Washington scores 3 goals, we lose. But anything other than 3, lower than that, we got a nice payoff here with Ottawa. And that's the way I'm looking at this one. Goaltending just means so much to some of these teams. And if Ottawa can get the goaltending, they're a competitive team.
You know what, Brian, I agree with you. I think this year more than any other year, I think it's just because in the Eastern Conference, there are so many teams that are at least now halfway through the season or just a little over halfway through the season vying for playoff spots. It is such a tight East that there's teams that can squeak into those 7th and 8th spots. That goaltending is going to be a premium. And we're going to see a lot of, I think, trade deadline moves where teams that are no longer in the playoffs and have a number one who isn't the true number one but can help a team make a playoff run are going to get traded. So those teams are going to accumulate some assets in moving a goalie and picking up draft picks, I think. But with that said, Andrew, for everyone who waited around patiently while we got this thing fixed, give us a couple winners on Andrew's prop playlist.
All right, Carm, I am going to give 2 player props, 1 assist prop and 1 shots on goal prop. And guys, I understand this is an NHL show, but I just want to invite you to join me on my 5% NFL play this weekend. I haven't had that many throughout the season whatsoever. This is a spot that I really like this weekend, and it's a player prop. So guys, be forewarned, if you don't like props, stay away from this one. But if you do like props, you had a chance to get it for $5. Now back to regular price here. 5-0 with props last weekend in the NFL. 70% NFL win rate since early November, and an 8-3 NFL prop run. So join me, guys, over at WagerTalk. You guys know how these prop numbers move. So you want to get the best number you possibly can on this player that I think will have a really, really good weekend in the NFL. So make sure you guys check that out or join me for a 7-day pass, get all of my plays. All right, we just spoke about the Ottawa Senators on PuckTime here, talking about the game that they have today. And I think that Tim Stützle right now is probably proving to be the most well-rounded he's ever been. I'm going to take a look at him to record an assist at plus 130. When you take a look at Tim Stützle, when he first entered the league, he used to be a shooter. He used to be the power play guy. They'd be waiting for the puck to go to him, and he would shoot it. Now he's attracting so many players towards him that he's become a lot more of a distributor, moving the puck around, finding his teammates. He's played with several different guys, including Brady Tkachuk, including Josh Norris, including Shane Pinto. He has been moved around the lineup, but he is one of the most heavy minutes guys on the team. And we're getting a plus price. That's all we want to do is get that best price we possibly can, plus 130 for Timmy Stützle to record an assist. Great price on that one. All right. I've been really, really picking my spots with these over 3.5 shots on goal numbers because, as Andy Lang will tell us, the 1.5s are a little bit easier to hit on a consistent and nightly basis. But I got to rock with Nathan MacKinnon over 3.5 shots on goal here tonight from the Avalanche. This guy is potentially going to win the Art Ross and the Hart. He is in line for both those awards at this moment right now, playing extremely well for the Avalanche. But this is a really good situation, guys, because they're getting the Oilers on the second half of back-to-back. Big win over the Minnesota Wild, putting up 5 goals on them. And I know the fatigue factor isn't always there for some good teams, and they could have depth, but I still believe that if MacKinnon is well-rested and they catch this Oilers team flat-footed, he should get at least 4 shots. And because this offense has been so spread out, guys, the price of minus 125 is better than we've seen it. We've seen this get as high as minus 140 for MacKinnon to get to 4 shots on goal. So just 2 player props, Stützle assist, MacKinnon over on shots. Let's have ourselves a night, and don't forget about that 5% NFL play. Back to you, Carm.
Andrew, good luck with that play on the weekend. I like the Stützle play. It's one of my favorite desserts, Stützle. A nice warm apple Stützle with a Bailey's coffee is fantastic. Bri, we're going to close it out with the Edmonton Oilers and Colorado Avalanche. I'm going to make mine quick. This total's at 6.5 under, shaded under, 20 cents the under. These teams have only played once this season. 4-1 Edmonton in Colorado. 4 of the last 5 have gone under the total, and that's where I'm leaning here. Normally you see 2 teams like this with 2 offenses like this, and you think these teams must have good over numbers. Not so much. Edmonton Oilers 19-22-1 this season to the over, minus 7.3 units. If you just flat bet the Oilers overs every single game, you're losing money. Similar with Colorado, 23-21-1. Negligible, but still down units, just about a unit on the whole season. These are definitely not over teams that we would normally associate, given those power plays, given the stars on the team. Under 6.5 for me. Where are you going with this one?
Yeah, for myself, this is Edmonton's 8th game in the new year, all played in different cities. It's also the second game of a back-to-back after outlasting Minnesota yesterday 5-3. They won in this building 4-1 in the only previous meeting of the season. They're 4-2 in the second game of a back-to-back, including that previous win in Colorado. That was in the second game of a back-to-back, which is very impressive with the altitude in Colorado. You know, in January, the Avalanche have yet to have any streaks, winning, then losing each of the last 7 games played. They're on one of those kind of things going on. They're off a 3-2 overtime win over the recently rejuvenated New York Rangers. Second game of 5 straight played in Denver. A slight lean here with Edmonton, but because of that home loss revenge for Colorado, I will be sitting this one out. So not enough to make my card on this one, but it should be a fun game to watch.
All right, Andrew, 7 wins in their last 8 games. The one game goaltending was not there for them on the road. They lose 5-3 to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Your Sidney Crosby, Pittsburgh Penguins. What are your thoughts on this one?
My thoughts are, I start to wonder, Carm, how many times we're going to see Mackenzie Blackwood in net for the Avalanche, and what's the deal with that, how they're going to manage his workload, because I haven't seen a confirmed goaltender, but everyone's getting excited. Everybody's confident now about the goaltending situation. You guys have heard me hyping it up, but I'm curious, you know, how many starts are we going to see the backups start to get? And I think Wedgwood is healthy again, so maybe we'll see if he's out there again, and what we're kind of going to see here. But this is one of those scenarios here, guys. If you're the Edmonton Oilers, you're looking at the schedule makers when you're seeing the schedule in the summer, and you're saying, "Are you serious? What the hell is this? You know, you're going to give me the Wild and the Avalanche. At least give me a bad team, then a good team. Don't give me 2 really good teams on a back-to-back like this." And something I said earlier in the show was about, taking a look at a team when they lose the first game of back-to-back. Sure, that motivation's still there for the second half of back-to-back, but you put up 5 goals the first part of a back-to-back. McDavid had an assist, a goal, and some people were saying it was a variation of a Gordie Howe hat trick because he elbowed somebody in the head. So he had an assist and a goal and an elbowed someone to the head. So quite the game there for McDavid. But overall, I think this is a good spot for the Avalanche. But this is one of those ones where I actually want to just more so go against the Oilers. And I think that the Avalanche, not just their goaltending guys, they have bought in to defensive hockey. So Brian talked about a team total under earlier in the show, and I feel like that's the way to go here in this one. And you guys will like this price here, plus 140 Oilers team total under 2.5. If the Avalanche want to utilize this good bet on spot, and as far as the rest is concerned, hopefully it's in a defensive manner. So good teams can score, but great teams can prevent their other team from scoring and creating all kinds of chances, especially second half of a back-to-back. So team total under 2.5 for the Oilers, Carm, and I love that plus price on the 140. So that's what I'm going to rock with here. And any thoughts there on the workload situation, Carm, with Blackwood? He's obviously playing great. How much are they going to play him moving forward?
He is. It's a good split for them. It just depends on how this team's doing in the standings. I think a lot of these teams, like the Floridas, the Edmontons, the Colorados, the Vegas Golden Knights, know that get into the playoffs, get into at worst the number 2 seed in your division, because they can win on the road. And they're a very good team. So no need to start a goalie 60 times, and they're not going to do that with him. Anyways, but we'll see how they monitor them over or how they use them over the next. We'll monitor it over the next 30 or 40 games. But we need to get to our best bet segment. Brian, I'm going to go to you first. Let us know what you have up at WagerTalk. And you got a big 5% play up tonight in the NBA. So tell us about it and give us a show best bet.
Yeah, the last couple of nights I've liked some games at 4% winner, 5% winner. Yesterday we had the Kansas game under, won that by double digits in college basketball. Got a 5% up in the NBA right now, and I also have a 4% up in hockey, a puck line play. Instead of buying just the 5% for $35, get the entire day for $39, and we even have better specials than that. So, real big day for us. A lot of strong plays going on today's card. One play I'm looking at, I'm going off the board for my best bet on today's show. Take a look at this Calgary-St. Louis game. 5-on-5 expected goal share. We find Calgary at 49.42, St. Louis at 49.22. Blues have a net goal advantage on the season of +4, with Calgary playing 2 more home games. So these are 2 teams that I rate very closely. This is the second game of a back-to-back between these two, as the Blues won in this building on Tuesday, 2-1. That was the second game of a back-to-back situation itself for the Flames, after knocking off Chicago in the Windy City. I believe it was 5-2 in that game. St. Louis has now won both meetings this year between these two, but both of them have been by a single goal, with one in overtime. You can't get much closer than that. Our numbers show these teams to be virtually equal, with Calgary playing its third game in 4 days. That's the only concern we have in this one. But that's not enough for us to fade the visitor here in a quick bounce-back situation. We'll gladly take the underdog price here with the Flames in a game that we feel is a coin flip, and we're getting it at +120. I'll take that with Calgary. That's what we're looking for to on the season, to make that little bit of profit each and every day with these great lines, and that's how you end up the season in positive territory in betting hockey. So we like Calgary in this one.
All right, Brian, I wish you the best of luck as well tonight with that NBA play. I'm gonna go to a game off the board that we didn't discuss, one of the 3 games that we didn't discuss, and I'm gonna take the New Jersey Devils. I get it; they're in Toronto, facing the Leafs, but the Leafs on a 3-game losing streak, and the last 2 at home. This is a team that got out to a 2-0 lead, and I talked about that game. They got out to a 2-0 lead in Carolina, and since that 2-0 lead, they've been outscored 13-2. Since getting out to that 2-0 lead. John Tavares left practice early yesterday with an injury. So he's, I haven't seen any news on him. I haven't looked for any news, but he may not be in the lineup for tonight as well, too. So maybe some shuffling of that second line for the Leafs. But the Devils play very good defensively. Going to be tough for the Leafs to break them down. Vancouver played them tough, shut them out. Dallas Stars played them tough. Get away with a 4-1 win. Devils, I put them in the same sort of defensive boat as those other two teams. They can play when they come, they play well. And Sheldon Keefe back with the Devils in Toronto, so we'll see what kind of a welcoming he gets. Give me the Devils minus 130. 2 plays up this afternoon in Premier League. 3-0 sweep yesterday in the Premier League. My NHL card, I was waiting on goalie confirmations. It'll all be up within the next 15 to 20 minutes. You can get that over at WagerTalk and pick up a one-day all access. Andrew, I'll send it to you to close it out. And you got a big 5% play going this weekend in the NFL. I wish you the best of luck in that as well, too.
Carmine, I appreciate it, man. Let's have a great, great night. Good luck on the soccer plays and the NHL. And good luck to Brian with the big NBA play. I'll be sure to get that off him and hopefully cash that ticket tonight. But again, guys, 5% NFL player props. So hopefully you're interested in player props, guys. Love this number. I think it's a really good price on a really good player. So join me, of course, on that. It's been a really, really good run in the NFL. But we're going to go with my best bet. It's going to be Florida Panthers versus Detroit. Team total over 3.5, minus 120 here. I'm not buying what Detroit is selling to me, that they are a changed franchise. I know Johnny Detroit is not happy overall, and he wants to keep the season tickets, but if they let him down, he's not going to keep them. But I'm telling you, this is a team that's proven they can beat teams below them in the standings. But how about the best of the best? How about the defending Stanley Cup champions? It's a big game tonight for the Red Wings, and I don't think they live up to it, the hype here. I'll take Florida team total over 3.5, and that will do it for Puck Time here today, guys. Apologies for the technical difficulties, but we appreciate you all hanging out with us here and talking hockey in the live chat and the comment section after as well. Hit the like button, smash that subscribe button as well. Help us grow this community. Thanks to all of you guys for being here. We'll see you tomorrow right here on Puck Time.
All right, later, boys.